right, hey, welcome back, everyone, to the CounterAction show. This is our third episode, and we figured the last couple have been a little bit kind of heavy-ish, at least, and so we were like, hey, let's make one kind of fun. So Jonathan and I are just going to kind of share some like stories from when we're in. We'll probably start with some boot camp stuff, and we hope to keep this around like 30 minutes. So this will potentially be something that happens every now and then, maybe mostly after heavier episodes, just to kind of be like, hey, here's some funny stuff to complain about. So that'll be this episode. So don't forget, our purpose is to try and provide a platform for veterans and their families, as well as service members, to be able to share their experiences, good or bad, for the purpose of counteracting change to how policies and things currently are for veterans, as well as folks that are currently in. That was mostly why I wanted to go back in as an officer, was to try to make some change from the inside. So instead, we're doing it this way because that's how the cookies crumbled. So I guess there's no better place to start than boot camp stories. So unless you got one you're itching to kick it off with, I'll go ahead. All right.
Go ahead. My boot camp was boring.
Okay, so my part might be kind of brief because I don't want to give like all the boot camp stories and have Jonathan be quiet for like a half hour. So I'll just pick like two. So out of like the five. So I went through Marine Corps boot camp in 2011, and drill instructors, they do some pretty funny shit. Like I'm surprised sometimes, but the things they do. This won't be a full story, but like when I did like a little mini OCS thing, one of our guys got called. He had really long hair. Oh, Patrick Swayze. He was called Patrick Swayze the whole time. So they do stuff like that. So one of these times, we were kind of like about halfway through. We're in Pendleton, so we're like phase 2-ish, and we had a recruit that requested permission to use the head, but of course, did it wrong. So we had to war cry over to the porta shitter. And for those of you that aren't familiar, war cry is just basically scream your head off. Like, you're supposed to, like Braveheart, like, so he, he runs over there yelling, screaming, does his business in the porta john, understandably stops when he gets in, comes out, runs back. The drill instructor goes, "Did I tell you to stop, bitch? Go back and do it again. Scream the whole time." Can you understand me, by the way, when I do the DI voice?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So he's like, "Yeah, aye, sir." He like runs back screaming. On the way, though, there's other recruits, one other one going towards the porta john. So the drill instructor goes, "Hey, you, war cry in the porta john right now." And so there's like two of them now in the porta shitter, and they're both screaming. And they come out, and there's more recruits walking to it. And so this time he's like, "All four of you in the porta shitter now, war cry." So now there's like four guys in the porta, and this just keeps going for a while. Eventually, by my memory, there's like 8 dudes in this one porta john that we slang as porta shitter, screaming their heads off, and he's just adding people. Until they got bored. We're all standing in formation trying so hard to like not laugh because it was ridiculous. Oh man, that was a pretty funny one. Another funny one, so this is on the Crucible. As I mentioned before, I was in the band. These drill instructors were aware of it, and they were also aware that people play the cymbals, so they got their hands out and they smashed like those cymbal things together. And so we're doing, I forget what it's called, but it basically involved lots of ammo can carries. So you have about these like 35-pound ammo cans, one in each hand. You're supposed to like run back and forth doing like this obstacle thing. There's like this obstacle course, and I think if you fell off of it, that's when you had to run the ammo cans, I believe is what it was. Like that was like the punishment for falling off or whatever. And so like I fell off at some point, and so I'm doing it. And then one of the drill instructors is like, "Hey, aren't you the band guy?" And I was like, "Yes, sir." He's like, "Grab your canteens right now." It's like, "Aye, sir." And he's like, "Hold them out, smash them like cymbals right now." So I'm like going up and down like a monkey, like one of those like flying monkeys, like smashing. And he's like, "Hey, do you know any songs?" He's like, "Yes, sir." He's like, "Do you know any Justin Bieber?" It's like, "No, sir." He's like, "Know any classic rock?" "Journey, sir." He's like, "Good, sing Journey right now while you're smashing." So I'm like in the middle of the desert. Everyone's like dying from like just it's the Crucible. It's tough as nails. And I hear this little like 19-year-old me just out in the middle clanging these canteens. "Don't stop, believe me." And he's like, "Since you're in the band, you're gonna be in my jukebox. You understand?" It's like, "Yes, sir." And so he was just like rattling off like stuff and like changing it. So like he was making me be like a jukebox. Like I remember at one point he was like, "Oh, good, do stars and stripes like a tuba right now." So I'm like, "Oh, good. Oh, be a flute, be a flute." It's like, in the middle, up and down, and then I guess I'll tell one third one because the third one's pretty brief. So they don't have a whole lot of money, so they will oftentimes tell us to load our rifles with notional rounds. So basically, make believe. So we're doing like this like land nav thing. We're always like grown 18, 19. Some of them, of course, are in their 20s because that's when they joined. We're all like pew 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 pew, like running around the desert, like having to scream it out. They're picking up pine cones, like grenade, like throwing. It's like, this is ridiculous. We're like diving for our lives from pine cones. Oh man, so that was a couple of the good boot camp ones. Never really kept up with any of them for reasons I explained in the last episode, but there's some funny stuff that happened.
Yeah, see, I did boot camp right, in my opinion. The RDCs had no idea who I was. Like we're like 6 weeks into boot camp, and my RDC looks at me and goes, "Have you been here the whole time?" I'm like, "Yes, I have, and you never noticed." So yeah, I got out of boot camp without a whole lot of craziness. About as crazy as my boot camp division got was we got quarantined because somebody got chicken pox or strep throat or something stupid. So we spent 2 days not leaving the building. Yeah. My boot camp experience was riveting.
We had someone desert in Pendleton.
Oh,
and turned out the guy's dad was like an oil tycoon or something. I don't know, like, or at least that's what he was telling us. Like, owned some oil company. So like this kid and his dad, allegedly, like this is when he turned himself in and came back like a month later. I was like, he got away. He got like clean away. He's like, yeah, my dad was mailing me credit cards, and I was like stocking up, and like we had a plan. I figured he like sent me maps of bus stations. So supposedly this kid's dad was like helping him plan like how to desert. I have no idea if the dad got in any trouble. Probably not if he's like an oil company owner, like the kid was saying.
Yeah, that's.
But the guy, when he left, to add insult to injury, took all of his rackmates' boots and shoes.
Oh,
just like, I don't know if it was on purpose. I don't know if it was just like because of being anxious and whatever. He just grabbed the wrong pair. We don't know. All we know is the next morning we find out he's missing. We're all dressed, and the other guy's like trying to find like his boots and shoes, and he's got nothing. So he's like standing on the line like barefoot, and the guy's like, hey, where's your footwear there, you recruit? And he's like, this recruit does not know. This recruit believes that the one that deserted stole his shoes. He had to go for like 2 days without shoes, while they're trying to figure out like how to get him like replacements and pay for it and all that stuff. I might not have been 2 days, but it was an awkward amount of time for this poor guy to be without shoes in Pendleton. So yeah, there are other people that did stuff like try to harm themselves, but this is about fun stories.
So when you guys are in boot camp, because I mean Navy boot camp, you're just it's all right there in one area up in Great Lakes, Illinois. So do you guys spend a lot of it kind of like isolated? I guess like was it hard to get that guy new boots and shoes because you were like in the middle of the California desert with nobody around, or like what made it so hard for him to get the replacement?
I think it was just timing because his schedules are really really packed. Like jam packed, and like you have like a lot of times you're supposed to be able to go and like buy whatever, and usually boots weren't even an option if I remember right from like recruit PXs. So I think it was just more like the logistics of just like the time and schedule to try. It probably wasn't even 2 days. It may have been just like a couple hours, but whatever it was, just seemed like an awkward amount of time.
Yeah.
But how it works for Marines, so at least on the West Coast, which by the way, they just had yesterday on Friday. We're recording on Saturday, May 8th. On Friday, May 7th, the Marines did their own like historical thing. So on San Diego, until a couple months ago, when the first females ever showed up there for recruit training, it was males only. And you're like in downtown San Diego, like surrounded by the airport and all that stuff, which was really annoying because you'd be hating your life and you just constantly got planes like coming and going. You're like, I wish I was on one of those goddamn planes. And it's kind of like at night when you're on duty, you see like the lights of the whole city, like, and you're like, one that I can touch it in real life. But they obviously don't have room for like combat training or range stuff there, really. So they have to bus you over to the recruit part of Pendleton. I think it's called Edson Range. I believe it's a name of a raider, maybe. I'd have to look up and see the history, but it's named after a Marine war hero. But that's where you do like your range and all that other stuff. And over there, it gets a little bit more interesting because officers aren't really that much around, at least when I was there. So like, at MCRD, they were a little bit more careful because it's easier for an officer to kind of pop out of nowhere and be like, "Ha, caught you abusing your recruits." And then they're in Pendleton, they're like, they're not even here. Like, we get to do whatever the fuck we want. So stuff got like, so we got like 2 Black Fridays. So if you're looking at Marine stuff, Black Friday is like the first day you get your drill instructors. OCS calls it pickup day. So basically, it's a day where you're getting blasted like the whole time, yelling, screaming, running, sprinting, picking stuff up, putting things down. Our pickup day for OCS wasn't as bad because of COVID, so I don't think they were trying to like get everyone's stuff mixed up. But like they'll like have you dump all your stuff on the floor, mix it all together, find it again, things like that. If anyone's lockers are unlocked, like lock the locks together. You have to try to figure out under our timer which one's yours and unlock the combination, like impossible seeming kinds of stuff. And so you get 2 of them on MCRD, at least when I was there, because you got the pickup day, the Black Friday, that's the official one. You got another Black Friday, which is the first day you get to Pendleton, and they're by themselves pretty much. So, and then you go back for phase 3, and then you go back to Pendleton for the Crucible. So it kind of, I think East Coast stays pretty much because it's in Paris Island, so I think it's all on that island. I don't think there's like a massive drive for 45 minutes north or anything like that to get to a training area. I think it's all pretty much just right there.
Yeah, I forgot that you guys had more than one boot camp. I mean, the Navy, they consolidated everything down to where everybody goes through Great Lakes now. So they have all the facilities and all the trainers and everything right there together.
Well, from my understanding, they're trying to integrate all this stuff more between males and females. So they could have something like that where they just make it one base, because I guess it's showing to be really expensive to have to change one of the bases over to be where it could be like males and females like in the same platoon or maybe the same company. Because right now I think they're still even split by companies, and so like you only like do stuff with them on the Crucible. I think I don't know. I haven't had integrated training, so I guess I'm just kind of speculating based off of my OCS. We had a female platoon part of our company. But we like never did anything with them. Like they were there, they did like the same kinds of stuff as us. They just always did it like as their own thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas like the other, like all the platoons just kind of did their own thing. But like the males, it's hard to be like, oh, you're like Alpha 4, you're Alpha 3, but like you knew the females were, and they were all by themselves, like the whole time, which was different.
Yeah. So, when I was going through. Oh no! I was just gonna say when I was going through boot camp, they were starting to integrate all the divisions. There was obviously there was always male only divisions, and then they had recently started being female only divisions. Pretty large female only divisions, and then I was in an integrated division. So they took 2 divisions, and all the males from those 2 divisions all slept in the same barracks. I can't remember what we called everything, but the whole building was a ship. I don't remember what we called the room, if it was just a barracks. Also, the guys from 2 different divisions all slept in one barracks, and then the girls from those 2 divisions slept across the hall. And then anytime we were doing stuff as a division, we would all divide up. It was a big pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you're going to be in an integrated Navy, you got to have the integrated boot camp, I guess.
The most integration I had was RCOs and iron sights. If I remember right, we were the last ones to use iron sights before they started like switching back and forth. Like I'm not even sure if they did it like platoon one had an RCO, one did iron sights or whatever, but like I was like the last one to like formally where like iron sights is what you qualified on. Mm-hmm. And so that's like my only like little brag was I shot 500 yards and did pretty well on iron sights, because you can't like see jack shit that far through an iron sight. But that's the closest I had to integration. Do you have any Navy? Do you have boot camp and like a combat training thing and then MOS school, or does it go like boot camp then MOS school?
So part of it, I can't speak for every rate, but I know some rates stick around at Great Lakes longer but I think that they're going straight to their what we call A school, which is their special in-rate school. Yeah, I think it's just on the same base. I went right after boot camp. I flew down to my training. I don't know if other people got extra special stuff or not. I don't think so for most rates, but I know like there's the SEAL divisions and stuff. I don't know if they got anything. I'm sure they got something after boot camp.
So Marines, they do it. So if you're infantry, you go from boot camp to SOI, School of Infantry. And then if you're anyone else, you go to MCT, which is Marine Combat Training. The gist is that your first month of SOI is kind of basically the same thing as the first month of Marine Combat Training, and then after that, the infantry guys do more of their focus stuff, if I remember right. If you got like a grunt or something that watches, or someone that's more fresh than me, because it's been like here almost like 9 years since I did.
Yeah, I'm going
like
on 2012. Almost a decade here.
Yeah, that was spring 2012 when I was in MCT.
Yeah.
And so I got a couple from there. But you do like your combat stuff. They had an overflow, so I was like in this like overflowed holding thing, which is where I got flashbanged for real for the first time ever. They were like, we need so SOI, at least part of their like graduation thing is they have to like do mount training, so like clearing out villages and stuff, kind of similar to the environment at least that was at the time in like Afghanistan and the Middle East. And so they would have like people dressed up. It's probably fairly racist now, but they would make people wear like bed sheets and stuff to dress up as like insurgents, and you would have to fight with zero training. Because just all you had boot camp with blanks and stuff against these SOI guys. And I just remember we were in the room. We were like, doing our thing, like bang, bang with our blanks and our fake AKs and all that stuff. And then so we hear like flashbang out, something like that. And it's like the device rolls in through the door. And we're like, there's no way that's real. Like I don't like it, so like it was. I don't know. I feel like it was kind of accurate to. I don't even know if it was like a mistake. I've asked other people if like they've gotten like legit flashbanged at MCT, and they're like, no, they're not supposed to. So like, I don't know if like it just got mixed up. I have no clue, or if like the dummy is really convincing. I don't know. All I know is that they got like headache. It was like a white, like couldn't see anything, and then we were taken out, like quote unquote, with like the sim paint rounds or whatever. But that was pretty funny. We were just like, there's no way they'd use a real couple. So if it was a dummy, it was real convincing. I feel like it was a real one, but
I feel like that has to have been a mistake. Like that has to have been some stupid ass guy thought he was supposed to throw the real thing and screwed up. Like I don't see how they could have like allowed something like that.
If it was a mistake, part of MCT we throw like real grenades and stuff too at some point on a grenade range, and like mistakes happen. People don't throw them on the walls and whatever.
Yeah.
But if it was a mistake and that was a real one and wasn't supposed to be, my guess is it's just accidentally some ammo counter supply person either accidentally just like missed a marking. Maybe it was just really dark because this was at night. Maybe they got like outfitted with their gear like while it was really dark, and it was just easy, and they just missed it. Like I don't know. I'm sure if it was on purpose, I wish they would have given us a heads up. If it wasn't, whatever. It's a flashbang. Thank God it wasn't a grenade. Like
yeah.
And so whatever. I'm sure there's been more like you do live fire stuff with the Marines, like you have like your buddy like recruits even like running forward and you're shooting live rounds around them and stuff, and people have gotten shot by accident. I'm not sure if anyone's like died like from getting shot, but I know it's not like it's super common, all right? But like they try to set it up where like you either have to like trip and fall like a really weird direction, or you just forget where you're going, and you just like start cutting across the wrong way. Oh, excuse me. Ooh. Or something like that. But I've supposedly every once in a while someone gets like shot in the ass or something like that by another recruit. Or I guess you could be a really bad shot. So like stuff does happen. So I don't know. If it was a mistake, it's kind of a funny story mistake. Like, oh my God, the one thing Call of Duty does right. You don't really got much for like MCT stuff. Maybe we'll skip to MOS school. Do you have any stories for MOS school?
So nuke school was, oh god, it was a disaster. Oh, it nothing but stress and hatred and miserable times. Uh, Most of my stories from nuke school were like things we weren't supposed to be doing.
I mean, that's most of mine that I've got written down.
Yeah, like there was, I don't know. Maybe these stories aren't funny to anybody but me. But there was one night it was like the week before my 21st birthday, and all of my friends, we decided we're gonna go out and we're just gonna go out in town and see what's up. So we all had the bright idea that we were gonna grab. Okay, I don't think any of these people are still in. So even if somehow names got leaked, all right, yeah, that'd be fine. All right, we had the idea. We went and bought. There was kind of a thing at the time where everybody in nuke school to stay awake was taking hydroxycut. So
yeah. That GNC thing with the thermogenic.
yeah, so we went and bought a fucking jug of hydroxycut, and all night we're out. Yeah, it was a terrible idea. The whole night we're out in town, we're popping fucking diet pills to stay awake, and we ended up at this.
How hot did you guys get?
How hot?
Supposed to raise like your body temperature. That's the whole deal with thermogenic. Like if you guys are just popping them like Advils or something, you must have been like a few degrees above like your normal body temp.
I don't really remember too much because we found this party so we were down in Charleston, and that's also where there's a military school there called the Citadel, and then there's also 2 or 3 colleges, like it's all right there together. So we're just walking around, and somehow we got invited to this college party, and we're at this party, and oh God, we got lit. And now we're just walking around downtown. We're drunker and shit. We don't know where we're at. We don't know where we're going. And we met up with these girls, and we're still drunk and shit. We don't know where we're at. Don't know where we're going. Somehow, I guess they thought we were all 21 everywhere. So we're drinking at bars, and we're buying beer from the hotel room. And the part of this story that always amazed me was we are very clearly not 21 years old. We are all baby-faced and young. So we bought a bunch of beer, or one of my friends bought a bunch of beer and took it back to our hotel room, right? And then the next day, hungover, and we think we're dying, because our body has been burning like 10,000 calories the night before, and all we've been drinking is beer and margaritas. And we go down to the front desk and we're like, look, can we get a late checkout? Can we check out at, 1 o'clock or something? And they say, yeah, no problem. So we kind of stumble off to go get breakfast or something. We get back to the room at like 11. The room is cleaned out. Like they checked us out for us. And we had a case of beer in the fridge. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm just going home. And my buddy's like 19. He's like, no, I'm getting our beer. Dude, we are about to get fucked. You are going to get us in trouble at the hotel. We are all fucked. They're going to call the base. The base knows we're all underage. Whatever. So most of us leave. Somehow he calls the manager of the hotel from the room that the key still worked in, gets the manager up there, gets the maid up there, chews them all out for stealing our beer. They bring the beer back. He cracks the beer and he's sitting there, super baby-faced. He looks like he's right out of high school, sitting there drinking a beer, yelling at the manager about the hotel room. Got the whole room comped. I got all of my money back. What? We got all of the beer back. Yeah, it was in. This guy could talk anybody out of anything. It was insane. Until this is kind of the other side of his coin. 2 weeks later, he got found in a car that wasn't his, coked out of his mind, drunk and pissing on the seat.
Well,
yeah.
We probably. I got the job that I had when I first showed up, like in the first couple of months, specifically because the guy that was doing it before me got caught with weed, like using it, and the dealer was in the unit too.
Oh.
So, so for some MOS stuff with us, like we shared the area with like the Navy and the Army, and so we had a couple of fun Army ones. So for some reason, the Army, I don't know if they were like National Guard, I have no idea, but they were scared as shit out of us, like E3 Lance Corporal Marine dudes. So we're like walking around, they're like walking in the grass to go around us, like the E7s are like moving for us, even though like we weren't like staring them down, like move, bitch. We were just like walking on the side, and then like an E7's like, oh, here comes the Marines, and just like moves out of the way, which whatever, like it's not necessarily proper customs and courtesies, but like not a huge deal. And then some kid eventually asked us in the bathroom. He's like, "Hey, I heard you guys are like really really tough, and like you have to do some really whack shit in boot camp. What's the worst thing you had to do?" So I reverted to some story I had in my head about what you do at Marine boot camp that you don't actually have to do, but I thought you did until I went through it, and I told it to him. So I was like, "Yeah, the worst thing was watching the life drain out of the eyes of that poor pig." And he's like, "What?" It's like, "Yeah, well, we gotta get used to like killing bitches and stuff. So like we had to like everyone had to rip out the throat of a pig, and in order to like show that like we were capable of like killing somebody." And they bought it 100%. It's like, holy shit! Like they all left us completely alone for like a month after that. Like not even like trying to talk to us. Like, I just made that up. Like I don't know where I got that in my head as a kid. Like I just made up a story that I heard about Marines when I was a kid. I don't even know like if it was from a TV show. No idea. It was just the thing I had heard of before. And then when I first showed up to our MOS school, they had some really bizarre rules. They specifically had in the rules that paintball guns and equipment were contraband. And that just seemed kind of weird. It's like, like we do sim rounds and stuff. Like, there's got to be a story behind this. So I do some asking around. And it turns out, like a class or two before us, they used to allow paintball guns and things. And they figured out when the Army guys would walk to work in their nicer uniforms, like the shirt and the khaki pants kind of a thing. And so what they started doing was peppering them down with paintball from their barracks room while the Army guys were walking to work. So they're all showing up like covered in paint and things. And so that's where like the rule came from about you can't have paintball stuff because some jackasses thought it'd be hilarious. And the best part with all this Army stuff was like we never got in trouble for it. Like I honestly don't like as a group, like we never got in trouble for stuff. Like one sergeant we have like evening musters, make sure no one ran away. It includes married people. You have to be there whether you live off base or not. We're all hanging out. Everyone's like swearing like a sailor, especially Marines normally do, particularly 19, 20-year-olds who think they're like the world's greatest gift to the planet and are untouchable. And so the Army guy's just chilling, and eventually he gets like pissed off. He puts us all in formation. We're like, why is this guy ticked? And he starts yelling at us about how it's unprofessional to be swearing and that there's families there and stuff. And we're all like, well, the families didn't have to show up. And so the Army guy's yelling at us, and eventually he's like, oh, good, no response. We'll wait. And then we were all like, okay, bitch, we just went through boot camp. You don't scare us. So we just were like, it's on you. We're here. You're the one that's supposed to be home right now. So we're all just basically waited out, like doing nothing. And then the next day, our gunny was like, you know what, y'all? That's pretty funny. Technically shouldn't do that, but it's the Army. Don't just do me a favor. Don't do it again for like a month. So I don't know. That was like some MOS school. There's plenty of things. Do you have another story before we wrap this one up?
No. So where I went to training, it was all nukes. It was all a bunch of like the nerdiest nerds you've ever met in your life. So instead of doing cool stuff like that, you would look out your barracks room and you would see like a guy dressed like a wizard or guys fighting with fake swords. And so yeah, it was not exactly a tough place.
Man, I might have to pull more of the weight on these stories. Well, I know during our combat training, I have one for how I took out 5 guys by myself in like a simulation, and I was shot in the head for it while being told that would have earned you a medal if that was real. Sounds like you just don't get any of those.
No, my life got crazy once I got to the boat. That was where a lot more exciting things happened. We weren't quite as controlled, when we were out to sea.
Gotcha. So maybe the next one when we get around to this, we'll just do like instead of like progressing like boot camp and stuff, we'll just do like just tell a story and we'll just let it run. All right.
Yeah, I was hoping that maybe you'd say something that would like jog a memory I had, but I got nothing. My time was boring up until I got to the fleet.
when I was prepping for this one, I was struggling at first, and then once I thought of one, it just kept like rolling. Like that, like if you got like that doc, there's probably like 30, maybe 40 like like little like one-liner refreshers in there for some stuff. So for y'all that are watching, this is kind of what we hope ultimately, especially if we get to doing live shows and stuff, want it to be like we're just kind of chatting and hanging out. We don't really script any of the stuff. We kind of give like outlines just to kind of, at least for me, keep me on track because my brain bounces all over the place for the most part. So thanks for watching. If you guys want to reach out to us, comment things down below, subscribe, follow, like buttons. You're also welcome to follow us on our Twitter. It's at CounterAction15. Don't know why the 15's there. If you search for CounterAction, it's the same logo that you probably see on whatever platform you're watching this from, because we are now on Google, Spotify, Apple too, right?
Not yet. We're
not yet.
Pending approval.
Okay. So Google, Spotify, and YouTube, I think, is where we're right now.
And Google, we're on everything, I think, except for Apple and Google right now. We're waiting for them to review the podcast. Everything else.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw an email yesterday from Google saying we were clear, but maybe I misunderstood it.
I'll double check that then. I'll make sure that we're good.
Anyways, we're easy enough to find. We're expanding too. So if you guys want to send us an email for things like I want to be a part of the show, I want to share my experiences, I want you guys to read this, I need help. I would like, how did you guys like do the VA? Because we'll probably do an episode with that in the near future, maybe. I've got a friend whose wife is an officer now, and so she might be coming on in the next like couple of weeks to kind of explain her experience, because that's been different from her and what she's used to. My wife might do something. We might have Jonathan's wife on, or all three of them like at the same time. Like, who knows? Because my wife has only experienced the leading up to, and then when I was got halfway through boot camp. So her and this other individual might work out pretty well. So make sure you subscribe and follow and all that good stuff. If you want to email us anything, it's counteraction22@gmail.com. It could be anything like, I want to be on. Here's the topic. What do you guys think about stuff? Here's an experience I had that I'd like you guys to share so other people know they're not alone. We would love to get more female people on, just because they have seemingly very different experiences than especially the males. And so that'd be probably a heavier one too. So if you have any interest, let us know. And for privacy, if you're worried about that, email is definitely the best way. The only people that will see it is Jonathan and myself. That's it. Absolutely. No one else has access to it.
Yeah. And if people have questions, like if you're listening maybe and you're thinking about enlisting, or I was a submariner. So if you got questions you're thinking about, that kind of thing or whatever, shoot us an email. Obviously, we have nothing better to do than talk. So if you got something you want to know, I know some of these are horror stories, but we're not trying to talk anybody out of anything. So, if maybe something we're saying is kind of putting you on the fence or whatever, shoot us an email and we'll clear some things up.
Yeah, I got some people I know from the Air Force, Army, Navy. I was Marines. I have a friend who's in the Coast Guard. So I think I pretty well know somebody, at least in all the branches, that can maybe at least talk like boot camp level stuff. I know Marines are pretty much like the same kind of experiences, more or less, for at least entry level training things, but other branches do things a little bit different. Yeah. Got another friend in the National Guard. He would maybe be someone I could talk to into showing up and doing something. I don't know. So, or at least I could ask the question if you guys got one.
Exactly.
I can be like, well, they may not show up, but I know someone that's at least in that branch that can answer it better than I can, and I'll ask them. And then, like, in an episode, like, say the response or whatever.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I appreciate you all enjoying. I guess it was mostly my story time. We'll try to make the next one be more Jonathan's story time. So be prepared for that one. Submariners, the wizard thing, that cracks me up. I love it. All right. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Subscribe, follow, comment, like, download, whatever it is, whatever platform you are on. Hit us up on our Twitter. Send us an email, counteraction22@gmail.com. And hope you guys have a great week. Thank you guys all for being part of the CounterAction. Share this video around to your uncle that probably could use having a friend. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Have a great week, y'all.